Hi, this is Dave Brannon here. I am going to talk to you today about applying for CPP Disability with post-COVID syndrome. Now, after watching this video, you'll understand some of the issues that are going to come up if you're applying for CPP Disability for post-COVID syndrome and some tips for how to improve your chances at success. Now, if you like this video, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and get the bell notification so you'll hear about our videos that come out a few times a week. So I've had a lot of media interviews this week about post-COVID syndrome and its effect on disability claims. There's a lot of interest around this, and I thought it's the perfect time for me to shoot this video as it's all fresh in my head. And today we'll talk specifically about CPP disability and post-COVID syndrome. So if you're watching this video, you likely have post-COVID syndrome, so I'm not going to go into a lot of details about that, other than to say that this is a very difficult situation right now for people who are dealing with it, although it's not unlike other situations we've seen with other post-viral syndromes. This is something that has come up in the past, and there are some tips and solutions here that I can give you to increase your chances of success with the CPP disability case. Now, let's take a look at CPP disability. So CPP disability is a type of benefit that is there for people who have a permanent, severe, long-term disability. To qualify for CPP disability, you must be unable to regularly perform any type of gainful employment. And practically speaking, that means you can't earn more than about $16,000 a year because of limitations with your disability. Now, the second part of it is it's not enough that your disability is severe, it has to be prolonged. That means that there's no end in sight, that the doctors do not anticipate you getting better at any time in the near future, and it could be permanent. So these two parts of the CPP, the severe and prolonged components, do create challenges with situations for these post-viral syndromes, and especially with COVID, post-COVID syndrome. So one of the biggest challenges with post-COVID syndrome is just the uncertainty that we now have around this condition. So what that means, whenever you're dealing with a CPP disability case with an uncertain situation in terms of the diagnosis and the treatment, that always makes it harder. So it's going to be more important than ever for you to make sure that you have a lot of medical documentation and that you can show that you're doing everything the doctor is recommending that you do. Your doctor may try to rule out other conditions if it's not clear, 100% clear that your symptoms can be attributed to post-COVID syndrome. The doctor may try to rule out other things. So you should be open to the idea that you'll try whatever they want to try here. So to do the CPP disability, again, you need to show this is going to be a long-term thing. So not probably a good idea to apply for Canada Pension Disability within the first few months. There's a 4-month waiting period, but you are going to have to see, is this thing going to extend beyond a year? And if it is, that's when you should be considering CPP disability if your symptoms are so severe that you're not being able to get back to your work and other daily activities. So in addition to making sure you're doing all the right medical treatment, it's going to be very important that you can show that you've tried things to stay at work. We're in a weird time if you're watching this while the infection is still going on, because workplaces are shut down, there's less employment opportunities. These things all factor in, and when you're making a CPP disability claim, they're always going to be wondering, well, could you work? Is it the reason you're not working because of disability, or is it really there's no opportunity, or you lost your job, or something like that? So you're always going to have to be able to show that you've gone out of your way either to try to find other work, that that you've gone back to your own job and done modified duties, you've tried working from home. There's a bunch of things you're now going to have to try to show to prove to them that this is not a situation of a lack of work, but an incapacity to work. So with any type of invisible illness like this, and when there's some uncertainty revolving around it, I would strongly recommend that you have to try to work with your doctor. Do not get into a situation where you're at war with your own doctor. That is a recipe for disaster. That can happen in these cases if you believe yourself that you have post-COVID syndrome and your doctor disagrees and wants to do other things. Just try to manage that relationship and go along with your doctor as best you can to try everything that they're recommending. It's often in these situations they have to rule out other things. So please, please, please maintain a positive relationship with your doctor. You will not be able to win a disability claim if you're at odds with your own doctor. It's just not going to happen. So if it gets to the point where you just cannot work with your doctor, then maybe you could look for another one. But beware, it is not easy to find new doctors in Canada. And sometimes having a doctor that you can try to work with is better than having none at all, because then you can't even produce medical documents and reports and things like that. So finally, it does help to get as much documentation as you can, and objective documentation. So you would want to provide, if really this is a post-COVID syndrome situation, the more documentation you can provide, the better, like your positive test results, blood work that shows that it was COVID. The more certainty you can bring around this, the better, because then it helps make the disability more certain. They're not going to worry that maybe this is something else and you're just not getting the right treatment for it. The more certain they are that this probably is post-COVID syndrome, post-viral type situation, the more you're going to be believed, and they're not going to call into question, maybe you should be trying this treatment, getting that other thing. So the more documentation you can bring to bear, the better. It's going to be critical that you go to the doctor, or at least attend the doctor by phone if you can't get there in person because of lockdown restrictions and types of things. So just make sure that documentation is in place. All right, and so that's pretty much it in summary. This is just a general overview of some of the things to think about. It's a trying time if you're trying to deal with a disability claim for anything, but certainly now with this post-COVID syndrome is something you're gonna have to keep an eye on. Make sure you focus on the documentation, as I've said, and do everything you can to get all the right treatment. And hopefully your situation will improve and you won't need to get on CPP Disability. But if you do, CPP Disability is there for people who have permanent, long-term permanent disability. And you should definitely apply for that benefit if that is going to be your situation. If you liked the video, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you back here next time.